Jon Hammond, he went on his weekly Bleacher Report stream, and he listed off 7 teams, 6 definitive teams that he mentioned specifically, as well as a mystery team. Now, if we're taking a look here at the latest news, also Scott Boras, he every offseason, he likes to talk to the media, and he did say that Juan Soto is going to be very thorough in the process. He said here, due to the volume of interest and Juan's desire to hear from the teams, I can't put a time frame on when he's going to sign, but it's going to be a very thorough process for him. He wants to meet people personally. He wants to talk with them. He wants to hear from them. I don't think we're really surprised about that. He's one of the biggest free agents of all time, right? We saw it last year with Ohtani. If I remember correctly, I think Ohtani signed in December. What was it? It was mid-December, I feel like. I could be wrong. My potato brain likes to get the best of me a lot. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Soto, honestly, even if it's January, right? Even in 2025, right? If you go back 2019, you saw Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, spring training was starting to get rolling there, and those guys were still on the market. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Juan Soto on the market at that point, especially with someone like Scott Boras, who really likes to drag it out. Now, I feel like it could be a little different with Juan Soto at the end of the day, because while Bryce Harper, Manny Machado are 2 of the best players in Major League Baseball, I don't know. To me personally, I think Juan Soto is going to be a slight tier ahead of those guys. I mean, I'm not saying those guys are bad by any means, but I think the caliber of a career that Juan Soto is capable of. To me, obviously looking at the money too, right? We're already hearing, $600 million possibly minimum for Juan Soto, and Harper, Machado, they weren't getting that kind of money. So Juan Soto, I think it could be a little different, because I just think the teams that are going to be willing to sign off on that kind of a paycheck, you're not going to see as many teams jumping into the mix. So maybe that could help kind of speed it up a little bit. We'll see. But I think Juan Soto's free agency is interesting, because I think when you look at the magnitude of a contract that he's going to get, and with how Scott Boras likes to do things, I wonder if you could see teams, they're really wanting to, go after him. Could you see teams where, maybe players are starting to come off the board, and, teams are trying to make things happen, and they're thinking, listen, let's say the Yankees, for example, because the Yankees, they have other areas of the team to address. And, when you look at their payroll as it is, they already have so much on that payroll. Adding Soto, that's going to make it quite beefy. Now, the Yankees, yes, they have a lot of money, obviously, so they could add Soto, and they can keep paying those luxury tax fines. Probably not that big of a deal at the end of the day. But if they don't want to, add another big, go to the extent that maybe Steve Cohen would want to go, at some point you would think the Yankees, they might want to check out, right? And they're thinking, all right, listen, we got to make some improvements elsewhere on the team. So could you see a situation like that where teams kind of, they fold, right? And they just say, all right, forget it. We got to make our team better. There's other players out here. Players are starting to come off the market. So, I think it could be interesting in that aspect. We'll just have to wait and see how that ends up going. But Jon Hammond, like I said, he went on his Bleacher Report stream, and he listed off the teams here: the Yankees, the Mets, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Giants, and the Red Sox. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. He also named a mystery team. I talked about this on a stream a couple of nights ago. I think that mystery team, if it's a smaller, it says small market, my guess is going to be the Detroit Tigers. I could see them possibly being a team where they have a lot of payroll flexibility. You think about the Detroit Tigers, right? There's a lot of history with the Detroit Tigers. Yes, the Yankees are the Yankees, of course. But you think about the Tigers, they're one of the oldest franchises in the game of baseball. So there's a lot of history there, right? So, no, I don't know how much that even weighs when it comes to any kind of a decision. Probably nothing at all. But I'm just saying the Tigers, they are a franchise that, they got that weight behind them. And if I were to think of a small market team, I think it's personally a smaller market team like the Tigers. I could see something like that. And I feel like they could use a guy, like a face of the franchise kind of a guy. That's just my opinion, though. I'm just speculating. My guess would be the Tigers being that mystery team. But, I've kind of already gone through these teams, right? The Yankees, I mean, obviously, it's the Yankees, right? You just had a career year with the Yankees. It really comes down to how far the Yankees willing to go. You already got Judge. You already got Cole. You got Stan. You got Rodon. You got a lot of beef already on that payroll. Yes, they would like to bring him back, but how far are they willing to go? That's going to be the question at the end of the day. The Mets, I think the Mets right now, going into the offseason, I'm thinking, yeah, he's got to go back to the Yankees. But I think I was thinking a bit more emotionally at that time. But really, when you look at the numbers, when you break everything down, the Mets are absolutely, in my opinion, I wouldn't say the favorite, but they have a lot of advantages going for them. The Yankees, you could call them the favorites, obviously, because they have the home field advantage. The Mets, I mean, when you look at the payroll, I mean, obviously they already have a lot of money to spend with Steve Cohen there, right? He's signing the paychecks. He's completely okay with signing off on someone like Juan Soto, but they have the flexibility to stay under the CBT if they really want to go that route. They have been over the CBT for a bit now, so they're going to have to keep paying those luxury tax fines. But you could sign Soto, and you could go get a couple other players out there that are pretty good, and you could still stay under it, all right? I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but if that's what they want to do, to reset the luxury tax, they could do that, right? So the Mets, they have a lot of room to work with. But, of course, they could just go over that CBT, right? The Blue Jays, they've been swinging and missing, right? Shohei Ohtani, they missed out on him last offseason. So, I think they're going to be really trying to put on another full court press. And, honestly, when you just look at any team could use Juan Soto, but when you look at the Blue Jays, I mean, they got an outfield spot out there that they need to fill, and Soto would be perfect for them. The Dodgers, of course, they're always going to be in the conversation. I don't know. I feel like the Dodgers at this point, I feel like they could have an offer, but I feel like, with all the money they've been spending over the last couple of years, I just wonder how far they're willing to go. The Giants are definitely going to be, trying to push here. I could see the Giants being interesting. It's just a matter of, will Soto want to go there? Now, there were, a couple of things in this quote here from Scott Boras, saying it's going to be a very thorough process. One thing that people were speculating with Soto was, is he just going to go to the highest bidder at the end of the day, right? It kind of felt like when you watched that post-game press conference that he was having after the World Series had ended, it kind of sounded like, pay me the money and let's see where we go, all right? So we'll see, really how, yes, obviously the money is going to be a big factor, but, could it be a situation where maybe he ends up taking a little bit less to go somewhere like the Yankees? Let's say the Mets offer him like $650. Let's say the Yankees, they tap out at like $630. Would he take $20 million less to just stay with the Yankees? I don't know. We'll have to see. But Boras saying here he wants to meet with people personally. He wants to talk with them. He wants to hear from them. I mean, I would too. I think any normal person at the end of the day would like to get a feel for the organization. What's the farm system looking like? What's this front office regime looking like? So, yeah, I mean, no surprises here. But I have been seeing, a lot of people out there saying he's just going to go to the highest bidder. Maybe, maybe that could be the case. But maybe you could see a situation where maybe he could end up taking a little less money if he really likes, what he sees and what he hears, right? We'll just have to wait and see on that. But let's go to our next story here. And we got the Red Sox to talk about. We got some Red Sox to talk about here. And listen, I know we all love Giraffe Neck Robbie here, but, and I'm not trying to be biased. I'm really not, but I really do think the Red Sox can have a big offseason. I really do think that. And you all know me. I'm down the middle, right? So, hey, at the end of the day, the Red Sox are in the news, and I got to talk about it. But the report is that there is a widespread sense that the Red Sox can trade for nearly anyone. And there's also word out there that Craig Breslow and the gang, they've been talking with agents out there, And there is a growing sense that they are going to be very aggressive this offseason. And I see you in the chat, Venny. Will the Red Sox go full throttle this offseason? Listen, I don't want to say they're going to go full throttle, right? Who knows? Who knows what anything means at the end of the day, right? We heard it last offseason, and yeah, that ended up really biting them in the butt. Now, they absolutely have every reason to go full throttle this offseason, right? They were in contention for quite a while this year until they really dropped off towards the end there. And now they got a lot of young guys coming up. They're ready to contribute at the major league level. They got a surplus of left-handed bats. They could use some improvements on the team, and they could use some of this surplus here to really help out in those spots. There is every reason, and also the payroll flexibility, right? When you take a look at the Red Sox payroll as of right now, they've cleared off a lot of money. They're right at around $170 million. First CBT threshold is at $241 million. So you got $70 million to work with if you wanted to stay under the CBT. I mean, let's see what ends up happening. Could this be a situation where they're like, hey, let's go for it, right? Let's really put some good players on this roster. Let's get aggressive out there. Let's really start opening up that checkbook. Could you see the Red Sox go above that first CBT? Right now, I'm going to pump the brakes, because there hasn't even been one signing yet at this point. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. I think you could see the situation where the Red Sox, maybe look more in that mid-tier range. I think, if you're kind of looking for a happy medium, I could see the Red Sox maybe working in that area, like the Shaw Manayas, right? Those kind of guys when it comes to the pitching market. Kind of in that zone, I would say. But I think you could make a case to maybe push a little bit for someone like Max Fried. Could you go after Corbin Burns? But the one thing you have to remember with the Red Sox when it comes to free agency, especially someone like Craig Breslow, he's going to be looking at value at the end of the day. He is going, you're not going to be seeing funny money being thrown around, right? They're going to be making responsible signings. I think they'll be aggressive, but I think they're also going to keep their heads in check at the same time. So, but this is the time to do it if they really wanted to. Now, kind of breaking this down here, Alex Spire of the Boston Globe, he was the one to report this, saying there's a widespread sense that the Red Sox can trade for nearly anyone. He went on to mention teams like the Rays, the Mariners, the Giants, the Pirates, because they have pitching depth. I would also put the Cincinnati Reds in that department. I think when you take a look at the Reds rotation, you got a lot of guys there, and they got some young guys, coming up. You could possibly even see someone like Chase Burns this year, right? He was very good in college. I think you could see a situation where he kind of takes that Paul Skeens route, right? Doesn't spend a whole lot of time in the minors and he comes up, right? I think you could see that. So I wonder if, maybe someone in that rotation could be had. Maybe someone like Andrew Abbott, where the advanced metrics weren't looking all that great. The ERA was a lot lower than the FIP this year. I could see a situation where maybe the Red Sox see someone like him who has a lot of club control, where maybe they could make a few tweaks and they could get even a lot more out of him. I wouldn't expect Hunter Green or like Nick Lodolo to go anywhere, but I could see someone like an Andrew Abbott, right? Especially because they could use an improvement in the offense. So I would add the Reds to this list, but they went on to mention some specific names, including Garrett Crochet, Freddie Peralta, Zach Gallen, and Sonny Gray. There was also something out there today. Buster Olney, he mentioned when it comes to Garrett Crochet, he sees the Red Sox and the Mets as the two teams he's going to be paying attention to when it comes to acquiring Garrett Crochet. I actually did put out a tweet today saying that I wonder if the Mets might actually have the upper hand there. Now, here's the thing when it comes to the Red Sox, right? Yes, they got the payroll flexibility. They can definitely sign some free agents out there. But when it comes to trades, when it comes to trades, right? I personally think I've said this, on video. I've been on record here. When it comes to their top four, they got basically the big four. Could end up being the big five with Brady Montgomery at some point, but you got Roman Anthony, the number one prospect in all of Major League Baseball, according to Baseball America. Marcelo Meyer, he was drafted back a few years ago. He's a top 10 prospect as well. Christian Campbell really shot up prospect leaderboards this year. He really emerged, had an amazing year in the minor leagues. He was Keith Law's prospect of the year this year. Kyle Teal, very solid catching prospect. So when it comes to these four guys, personally, I think Marcelo Meyer could be the guy that out of all of these, out of all four, I think if you're looking to make a blockbuster move, I personally think Marcelo Meyer could be the guy to move, because Roman Anthony, there's so much projection with him. I mean, there's a lot to like with him. And that is why he is the number one prospect on Baseball America. I feel like the Red Sox are going to hang on to him. Christian Campbell, he's also a righty bat, which the Red Sox have so many lefty bats, right now. So I think they almost like the idea. Christian Campbell, he's got a lot of power in that bat. He's a good all-around bat, but he also has positional versatility. So he can go around, different spots. He can go in the outfield. He can play some infield. So I think he has that versatility working in his favor for him to end up staying. And Kyle Teal, good catching prospects are pretty scarce. So out of all the guys, I think Marcelo Meyer could be the guy, because you got a lot of middle infield depth. You got Franklin Arias. You got Yoeilin Cespedes in here. He's probably more of a second baseman, though. Go down the list here. You got someone like Nazan Zanatello. Didn't have a great year this year in the minor leagues, but he was a second round pick not too long ago. You got some other middle infielders in here. I mean, I did mention Yoeilin Cespedes. He's someone that can play second, and also someone like Chase Majdroth here. Probably looks more like a second or a third baseman. But you do have some shortstop prospects here, and you have Trevor Story under club control for the next couple of years. He could opt out after next year, but I don't know. At this point, I just think with all the injuries he's had, it's probably not a great idea for him to opt out. So you have a lot of guys that can play shortstop for you. So I think Marcelo Meyer, if you wanted to go land a big fish out there, he could be the guy to get it done. That's just my opinion. I know other people out there will have different opinions. I really think you can go either way. But the Red Sox, again, you have a lot of guys here, that you could really include in a trade. And I mentioned here a second ago, like Franklin Arias. This is a guy that had a good year in the minor leagues, really emerged. Shortstops. Teams like shortstops at the end of the day, because shortstop is the position that you can build around, right? That's the one thing, when you look at shortstops out there, Jackson Merrill, for example, he was a shortstop. You can move him out to center field, because shortstop tend to be the most athletic position. So they can go over to third base, right? You could go have them play second base. They have that versatility to really just play anywhere for the most part. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention Mikey Romero, right? That's another shortstop prospect. Sorry, I forgot to mention him, right? He had a good year in the minor leagues. So the Red Sox, yeah, I think they can definitely go make some moves here. I mean, when you say you can trade for nearly anyone, listen, when you got someone like Meyer, that's a very valuable piece to have, right? But it's not just him. It is not just Meyer, right? You got guys on the major league roster that you can go include. And, the one guy, in my opinion, that sticks out the most is Willie Abreu, right? Willie Abreu is a solid rookie this year, had a good rookie season. There is some platoon risk there. He's not great against left-handed pitching. He really didn't go up against left-handed pitching all that much this year. I think he had less than 70 ABs and didn't really do all that much. He was very productive against righties, but very good defensive player as well. But I think because of Roman Anthony emerging eventually, he's knocking on the door. I think Willie Abreu is a good player. This is not a knock against him, but I think because of the good year that he had, combined with the club control, he's not a free agent until after 2029. There's value there. He's only 25 years old. So I think you can definitely include someone like him, a team that's looking for a major league ready player that can contribute now, like a team like the Cincinnati Reds or the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can include him in a deal. So the Red Sox, they got major league talent. They got minor league talent. They can go make some moves. Now, Jarren Duran, I do expect him to end up staying. I mean, this is a guy, you could definitely see him in the MVP conversation when it comes to the voting, right? He was up there Very good all-around year for him. Tristan Casas is a guy that's been mentioned a lot when it comes to possible Red Sox trades. Craig Breslow came out recently and said he doesn't know where these rumors are coming from. He thinks it's more just he sees Tristan Casas as a guy. There's a lot of power potential with him. He just needs to stay healthy at the end of the day. And let's be real, he lost a lot of value this year because he had the injuries, the rib injury. So Tristan Casas, I don't think you're going to be able to move him anyway because there's just not really all that much value. If you're trading him now, you're really selling short, in my opinion. So I think he ends up staying, and that's not a bad thing at all, right? A guy that has a lot of power. So, yeah, I don't expect Casas, but again, you got the prospects. You got Willie Abreu here. You could definitely go out there and make something happen. Masataka Yoshida, you are going to have to probably eat some of that contract to move him, but you could definitely move him to a team that needs some offense. I could see the Kansas City Royals being a good fit. Hey, also, everyone look out. This week, I got my trade predictions coming out, and I got some Red Sox trades in here. I know everyone's going to be thinking in that video, oh, here's Draftnik Robbie again. But no, listen, when it comes to the Red Sox, I think they can make a lot of moves. Like the Cardinals, I think they're capable of making a lot of moves since they want to clear payroll. We'll see. But Yoshida, yeah, a team that's in need of a bat out there. Could you look at a team like the Mariners possibly? And maybe the Kansas City Royals? I could see something like that. So, and also another thing to mention with the Red Sox, they did extend the qualifying offer for Nick Pivetta. And a lot of people thought this was a bit surprising because Pivetta, he was okay this year, right? He's been a guy that's been pretty steady for the most part. He gives you the innings every single year. He's shown that he can pitch in the bullpen and start. Pretty solid year overall this year. Nothing amazing by any means. ERA at a 4.14. FIP at a 4.07. A guy that could be, a fourth, maybe third starter if he can take a step forward. There is a report out there that teams think Pivetta can be even better than what he did this year. So we'll see. I remember the Zips projections for him were, I think for next year at 2.5 on the wins above replacement. That would be worth right around $20 million. So if the Red Sox are offering him $21 million, and then, yeah, that could make some sense. And Pivetta, he might very well turn. I saw people out there saying, oh, there's no way Nick Pivetta turns that down. I think the Red Sox, they offered him this because that's pretty close to what other teams might see, right around that $18 million, $20 million range. So with Pivetta, this is a guy that's, he's 31 years old now. He might be looking for, a 3-year deal. So I could definitely see him turning this down. We'll see. But for the Red Sox, I think it was smart because they can get a draft pick in return. And even if he does accept it, you're still going to have a lot of payroll flexibility, and it doesn't hurt to have pitching depth. So that's just me. But anyway, I know I rambled on about the Red Sox a lot there. But they are definitely primed for a big offseason, in my opinion. Again, they can go make the trades. They got a lot of players they can deal. They got the financial flexibility to stay under the CBT. We'll see. I do think the Red Sox are going to be active, but as always, we'll just have to wait and see. Let's move on here. Let's talk about a couple of guys that right now looking like they might end up staying put. Bo Bichette and Brent Rooker. Now, let's talk about Bo Bichette real quick. So with Bo Bichette, Ross Atkins said it's an easy no. Now, I'm going to say this, right? Here's the thing with Bo Bichette. I think he's trying to sound like, no, we love Bo here. We want this guy to help us win. Let's be real at the end of the day. Bo Bichette missed a lot of time this year. He was injured a lot this year. He underperformed a lot this year. Yes, the Blue Jays, they might very well love him, right? But when you're talking about it from a logistical point of view, from a value point of view, he lost a lot of value this year. A lot of it, right? You don't even know what he's even going to be, for next year. He has a very good track record prior to 2024. So I think you can see him get back on track. I don't know what happened this year. He had the injuries. My guess is something mechanically was just off this year. It's hard to fix that kind of stuff mid-season. I think with an off-season, spring training, I think he'll be okay. But he did lose value no matter how you cut it, right? So, yeah, when Atkins is saying an easy no, I think you're also looking at it from the value point of view too. So we'll see what ends up happening. I think he ends up staying this offseason personally. Again, I think you're really selling low on him at this point. You only have him for one more year. You have a team. If you can maybe add a couple of pieces to it, you could go on a playoff run, right? I mean, this is a team not too long ago that was right there in the postseason mix. So, get him back on track, maybe add a couple more pieces. Yeah, the Blue Jays could definitely go after the postseason again. I think what they end up doing is they hang on to him. They see how they are in the first half of the year. If they're still losing a lot of games, but if he's playing well, then yeah, I think you will see him get traded at that point. Now, Brent Rooker, on the other hand, listen, I talked about this. I forget what video I talked about this. I think it was the video that I did. One player for each team that will be gone this offseason. And for the A's, I actually did not go with Brent Rooker as my pick. I think that could have surprised some people out there. But I think, who did I even go with? I think I went with, I don't remember who I went with for the A's. I don't remember. If anyone can remind me who did I pick for the A's again? I'm going completely blank. I don't remember who I picked for the A's. Wow, I'm just blank. But I did mention Brent Rooker in the A's segment for that. And I think he could end up staying, right? Because you got to look at Brent Rooker here. This guy had a very good year. I mean, listen, he was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball this year. Baseball Reference WAR of 5.6, hit 293, a 927 OPS, 39 home runs, 112 RBIs. I mean, listen, and you have him for 3 more seasons. It's not like, he's going to be a free agent here soon. He's not a free agent until after the 2027 season. You got him for 25, 26, and 27. And listen, say what you will about the Sacramento A's at this point. It's just weird saying that. But listen, they got talent on this team. And, remember this year with the A's, remember they got off to kind of a pretty decent start and everyone was like, whoa, look at the A's here. They got some guys, Now, I'm not saying they're going to be a contender next year by any means, but listen, you got Lawrence Butler, who was very fun this year. JJ Bleday looks like he might have finally found his groove at the major league level. Sure, someone like Zach Geloff, he disappointed this year. But, this is a guy that had 17 homers, 25 stolen bases this year. So I think you could see him get back on track fully with the slash line for next year. Jacob Wilson, top prospect for them. He came up this year. Shea Langeliers, yeah. 29 home runs. They got guys that can do some things here in this lineup. Now, when it comes to the pitching, they are going to need an improvement when it comes to the pitching. Maybe they can go out, starting pitching, they're going to have to maybe go out there and see if they can go land some guys. But, at least you have a guy like JP Sears who was okay this year, and he was a workhorse for them. So maybe they could go out there, maybe make some stuff happen. I don't know what their payroll or what their budget even looks like. But at the back end of the bullpen, obviously you're set there with Mason Miller. So, maybe they can go out there, add a couple of bullpen guys. This A's team maybe could surprise some people next year. But I'm not surprised to see the A's wanting to hang on to Brent Rooker here because he is their best player at the end of the day. And they're looking to take that step forward. They got this younger core coming up. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see this report at all. And a lot of people were thinking, oh, this is just him, leverage. You know me, I like talking leverage, right? Teams love to, try to get the leverage card. I almost don't see this as leverage, right? Because sure, he could turn around next week and, make a trade, maybe it could be, but I don't know. I don't get that feeling because I feel like with the A's, when you have someone under this much control and you got a young core emerging, and he's cheap. That's another thing too. He's not just under control. You're barely paying the guy. I don't know. I just don't see there being a sense of urgency to move him at this point. That's just my opinion. Maybe some other people think differently, but if he gets moved, I mean, yeah, they could definitely get a pretty good package back for him. But I think I have a hunch that the A's are going to really, try to put their, throw their hat into the ring. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But let's talk about a couple of guys here that could possibly be moving positions. We got Willie Adames, right? Now, I'm not saying Willie Adames is going to be, or he's not going to be a shortstop next year, but reports are, according to Will Salmon and Katie Wu of The Athletic, Adames wants to stay at short, but would be willing to move to other positions for the right offer from a competitive club. Now, with Willie Adames, here's the one thing with Willie Adames. The defense this year at shortstop was a bit down. Now, if we're to go take a look at Adames here. Now, I like me Willie Adames. I think he's one of the more underrated free agents here. I think his name is starting to get more attention now that people have, looked over the free agents. But I feel like going into it, I was thinking, do people realize that Willie Adames is a very good free agent out there? Now, if you take a look here, he has a very good track record of defense. Now, it took him a couple of years, a few years ago to really get himself going. Outs above average in 2021 was at -9. But then 22, he really turned a corner there. He had 10 outs above average. 2023, he was up at 16. Fielding run value of 12. And then this year, he really dropped off. And I don't know, Brewers fans, maybe you can help me out here. Was he dealing with some kind of an injury this year? I felt like maybe I might have seen something with the knee. I don't know if there's something nagging him this year. But it's kind of a very odd turnaround, a drop-off for that defense, right? I mean, he went from 8 defensive runs saved to -16. My guess is he was dealing with something all year. I don't know what that was, but, to go from 8 to -16 and from 16 outs above average to 0, that's very weird. So I'm personally going to think with Adames, I don't know. I will trust the track record in this situation, but he does have the versatility at the end of the day. So not surprised at all that, and listen, teams now, they love versatility. They love guys that can go move around, right? Because teams, when you look at teams with shortstops, shortstop is that one position that you don't see a lot of teams needing a lot. Yes, you're going to have a few teams, every offseason that could definitely use an upgrade. But for the most part, teams have that position locked down, right? So for especially competitive teams, right? Like the Mets, for example, right? You got Lindor, right? Even the Yankees, Anthony Volpe, he's not a Francisco Lindor, but he's very good defensively there. And you can kind of hide him in that lineup. And then, he can come through for you in big spots, just like he did, in the World Series. In the end, yes, the Yankees lost. But still, my point is Willie Adames, if he wants to go to a team that wants to win, a lot of those teams already have shortstops. So, but maybe they have an opening at third, right? Like the Yankees, for example. Could you see a situation where if you don't get Juan Soto back, maybe you could go after Willie Adames. You already have Volpe at short. Maybe you can move Adames to third base, right? Same thing for the Red Sox. You got Trevor Story at shortstop. Maybe if you move Rafi Devers to DH, Willie Adames, he can be your third baseman. Or if you don't feel like Vaughn Grissom is the guy at second base, Willie Adames can play second, right? But yeah, teams out there could definitely use Willie Adames, right? As a shortstop. I think the Giants could make some sense. You got Fitzgerald there that has versatility. I feel like I've said that word like 8 times already. But yeah, you could see a situation like that where a team already has someone there, but they could move that player and then you could put Adames at short. That's my prediction. I feel like he ends up going to the Giants. I feel like, new regime, Buster Posey taking over. I feel like they need a steady, consistent guy. I think Adames, he checks off those boxes to me. But we'll see. Could you see maybe a situation, I think the Blue Jays could make a lot of sense. I think if you move, but again, I don't know what you do with Bichette. I think the easy answer would be to move him to second base. But when you're talking about it from a mental point of view, from an ego point of view, I don't know. What do the Blue Jays feel about that? To me, I think if you're looking at it from a numbers point of view, Bo Bichette has not been a good shortstop. But you could look at it how the Padres did it, right? They had Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop. He was a much better defender than Xander Bogaerts. They had to have the talk with Bogaerts, say, hey, we know you're paying, we are paying you. We know we're paying you a lot of money. We signed you to be a shortstop. But listen, man, Kim, he is so good defensively. We think we're going to be a better team with you at second, right? It's not a knock against you, but at the end of the day, we just think Ha-Seong Kim is going to be the better player. Yeah, Bogaerts, did he have to kind of, swallow his pride a little bit? Sure, right? But at the end of the day, the main goal is to win, right? That's why you play this game, right? You want to win a championship. So he made the move for the team. Could you see a team like the Blue Jays, right? I know I just named off like 3 AL East teams. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some other teams out there, right? We've seen the Dodgers a lot. I am personally getting the vibe. I don't know, man. Could the Dodgers do it? Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe I'm, I don't know. I don't want to say coping is the right word, but maybe I'm thinking there's no way they can keep spending all this money, right? I mean, yes, they have it, but are they going to keep doing it? They could sign him. I guess we'll talk about Mookie here in just a second, but you could sign Adames and, have him at short. Mookie is your second baseman. Then I kind of wonder what's going on with, even if we'll talk about Mookie, if Mookie moves to second base, back to second base, what do you do with Gavin Lux at that point? Do you try Gavin Lux at shortstop again? Or do you move Gavin Lux? That's going to be interesting. But yeah, you could see that with Adames, right? It'll be interesting. But let's talk about Mookie Betts here. Now, Mookie Betts, I said for this too. I called for this, and people were arguing with me and whatever. When Mookie was on the IL this year, I was saying, you need to move Mookie back to right field, right? He's a Gold Glove right fielder. I know, he came up through the Red Sox system as a second baseman. Yes, at the time you already had Pedroia there, right? So at the time you needed to move Mookie, right? And he ended up turning into an excellent right fielder. But for him, it's been a lot of wear and tear on him. So moving back to second base for him personally was a move that he wanted to do, but then he got hurt, and then the Dodgers infield, they kind of stabilized themselves, and they needed a guy out in right field again, and so that's why he moved back to right. But now it looks like he wants to move back to second or short. I feel like at this point you keep him at second, right? Shortstop, it's not like this easy position. It was a new position for him, and even he was saying that it was pretty challenging. So I think second base is going to be where he goes, and like I said, Gavin Lux. What do you do with Gavin Lux in that situation? I feel like you could maybe include him in a trade, or you just try him again at shortstop. You kind of go, or he just ends up being on the bench. It's kind of the way I see it at that point. We'll see here, man. It's going to be interesting. All right. But the Dodgers, they're going to be looking for some guys in this outfield if he is going back to the infield. And if obviously he's not going to shortstop, then yeah, you could definitely see a situation here where they look to bring Teoscar Hernandez back. If he ends up going elsewhere, then you could see, maybe they go after, a guy like Michael Conforto, right? More Juan Soto, hey. But you got guys that you could go after if you don't bring Teoscar back. So now another guy I want to mention is Willson Contreras. And, this is kind of a no-brainer at this point. Willson Contreras has always been, kind of a flawed catcher, in my opinion. Like he moves okay back there, good arm, but the framing is not very good with him. I don't know. He just never seemed like he was a guy that you could put back there, but it kind of got to a point where it just wasn't really working with him anymore. And, you already got Herrera there now. So I think with Contreras, now he's going to be moving to first base now that Paul Goldschmidt is out of town. And there, was something here with Willson Contreras. People were thinking maybe the Cardinals could unload him, but now there is a report saying that he is not going to, or he's unlikely to waive his no trade clause. And honestly, with Contreras, it's going to be hard to move him anyway because he's an underwater contract. He's got a pretty big contract here, and he hasn't really been producing up to that contract. So Yeah, I'm not surprised really to see this, but says here that he kind of wants to. Where was the line here? John Mozeliak told reporters at the GM meetings today that the move to first base DH was made with Contreras' long-term health and longevity in mind, adding that he's unlikely to catch much at all in 2025. So yeah, I don't know. When you look at Wilson Contreras here, pulling up the numbers. I mean, his brother is definitely the better defender, right? But, you look at the defense for the last few years, he's been in the negatives, right? So, with the bat, getting back to what I was saying, he's an underwater contract. But what I mean by that is he hasn't been bad over the last couple of years when you take a look at all of the numbers combined. But what you're paying him, because you got to look at the defense as well, right? This year, he was a 2.6 wins above replacement. So that's right around $20 million, right? But you take a look at, last year too. He's produced up to that contract so far, but projections moving forward, they're projected to go low. So that's why he is a bit underwater at this point. It's mainly the projections, especially if he moves to first base now, right? First base, I mean, yeah, we'll see if he can even get up to this 2.6. These numbers for a first baseman, it's not really, amazing. You got to have like Vlad kind of numbers to get into that 5.5 wins above replacement range, right? So for him, let's see what this looks like for next year. But moving on here, we got a couple more stories. And we actually did have a free agent signing today. We actually had one, everyone. Look at the Angels making some moves. I mean, listen, the Angels, they are busy. Who would have thought the Angels would have been this busy to start off the offseason? You got Jorge Soler, and now you got Kyle Hendricks. Man, oh man, could Kyle Hendricks, really provide something for the Angels here? Now, if we're going to go take a look here at the Angels rotation. I mean, listen, this is kind of what I was saying on another stream when it came to the Angels. It's going to be hard for them to attract the top free agents out there because of the track record, right? You had Ohtani, you had Trout, you weren't able to win. You brought in other free agents as well. Anthony Rendon obviously is a bust. You've had guys like Justin Upton. You haven't been able to do anything. So players see this and you're thinking, oh, what's going on over there, right? For someone like Kyle Hendricks, who's, about to turn 35, ERA near a 6 this year. These are the kind of guys that you really have to go after. I did, in my predictions, give them Michael Wacha because I thought maybe that's like the highest they could go. I have a hard time seeing that they're going to be able to bring in someone like Corbin Burns or Blake Snell. Could they? Sure. Listen, if they want to throw the money at some of these guys, we'll see. I don't know. I did see a little report out there. I don't remember where I saw it, so I apologize to the person that actually said it. But I guess there was a little bit of a report that Artie Moreno is really looking to spend some money this offseason. It's not like he's not just trying to gaslight the fans, right? There's actually, some purpose with this offseason here. Now, Kyle Hendricks, really, are you going to be moving the needle with Kyle Hendricks here? It's interesting. He's got a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. That's not really much. Taking a look here at Kyle Hendricks, he was a 0.4 wins above replacement. So that's one win is worth $8 million. So he was right around $4 million this year worth of value. So yeah, $2.5 million. That's actually a pretty fair deal for him. We'll see, man. Maybe they could do something. I don't know. Hey, new team, different game plan. Maybe they can get something out of him. And actually, let me take a look here with Hendricks. His FIP still wasn't very good. 4.98. So I don't know. I know it's kind of feels like, well, why are we talking about Kyle Hendricks? I think Kyle Hendricks deserves the respect. He's had some good years in the past, but this year, even just last year, he was pretty good. This year, though, he was giving up the home run ball. Maybe the Angels can figure something out with him. We'll see. We got someone else. Nathan Eovaldi is on the rumor mill, and the Braves are showing some interest. I predicted Eovaldi to head back to the Rangers. But listen, with the Atlanta Braves, with Max Fried, a free agent, they already brought in Griffin Canning. Listen, I actually really would love this. I would love this fit. To me, Nathan Eovaldi, this is a guy that needs to go to a team that's going after a championship. He just has that pedigree, right? He's won a World Series with the Red Sox, the Rangers. He just feels like that weapon that you bring in to really help you go after a championship. I think the Braves, honestly, I do see a bounce back year for the Atlanta Braves. They just had so many injuries this year, so I think they're going to be on the upswing. Hopefully Chris Sale stays healthy. He was a big part of their success this year, so hopefully everything moving forward is okay with him. But Eovaldi, hey, he would be reuniting with Chris Sale, so I think that'd be pretty cool. Reynaldo Lopez as well. He's having some arm issues at the end of the year. I'm hoping that's not going to be something moving forward with him. But I wonder if the Braves almost feel like that as well, right? Maybe they want to bring in a guy that, they know they can count on just in case, like almost like insurance in a way. I'm not saying Sale and Lopez are going to have injuries. You can't really predict that. Evaldi's also had his own injury history, but I could almost see him obviously as a guy that could definitely help the Braves, but also insurance. So we'll see. Keep your eyes on this. And there's also some talk here about Ryan Presley maybe being on the trade block. I'm not surprised in a way. The Astros are in this weird sort of time right now where, it's almost like they're going through a bit of a transition, but they're also trying to stay competitive. So I feel like if they were to move someone like Ryan Presley, but you could see it in a couple of different ways. He's a pretty solid reliever for this year, right? He would definitely help a bullpen out there, but I wonder if the Astros, would they be wanting to get some major league ready guys, or would they take some prospects back for him? I don't think you're going to get really all that much for him at the end of the day. If we were to go to the good old trade machine over here, I would imagine, let's see, what would his value be? Let's go. Presley. He's at a negative 2.4. So the Astros, you might have to, if you want to get something back, you might have to eat a little bit of that salary. So we'll see about that. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes and ears open. But everyone, I think we're going to wrap this up here for tonight. Kind of just recapping here, Juan Soto. We're going to be talking Juan Soto a lot this offseason. It's the way it is. I'm very excited to see where he ends up going. We talked about the Red Sox here tonight. The Red Sox personally, yeah, I do think they're going to have a big offseason. How big? I don't know how big, but I think they're going to be making a good amount of moves, especially, another thing I didn't mention too is, just the fans. They've been wanting this Red Sox team to get back into it. And after what happened last offseason with the full throttle thing, I think the Red Sox, they're feeling that urgency a little bit and the pushback from the fans. Bo Bichette, Brent Rooker, looks like they're going to end up staying put. You never know. Offseason fluid. We'll see how that ends up turning out. And then we're talking about some position changes here. Willie Adames, listen, be open to the idea of maybe he could go to a team to play third, maybe play second, right? He's going to want to go to a winner out there. So definitely see, if that's what ends up happening, right? I also mentioned the Red Sox with him too. I mentioned the Red Sox earlier with him, but there have been some rumblings. People inside the Red Sox organization, they like Willie Adames, right? I've been told personally by a little birdie of mine that, yeah, they like Adames. We'll see, I don't know. He would be a pretty good right-handed bat, in my opinion. And then, Mookie Betts moving back to the infield. Wilson Contreras to first base. But everyone, we're going to wrap this up here tonight. I want to say thank you for joining us tonight for another show. We will be uploading some videos over the next few days. I have my trade predictions coming out. That's going to be a fun one. I did that last year. That was a pretty fun video overall. Had a good turnout for that. And we're also going to be coming out with contract predictions at some point. I'm actually very excited to do that video because it's one I haven't really done. So excited to see what you all have to say. You're probably all going to be mad at me. That's how it always goes with my videos. I put predictions out and people get grumpy with me. But look out for that. I got another video in the works too. Be on the lookout, everyone. Everyone, thank you for stopping by tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Go have yourself a good rest of your night, and I'll talk to you next time.